Thank you for that very, very warm welcome. Wow, what an incredible weekend. Just so many good messages, so many pearls of wisdom for you to take and share with your team and use to grow yourself. So, what am I going to share with you today? Well, I'm going to share with you something based on the longevity of forever. And I'm going to talk about 3 things during my presentation. For those of you who are not familiar with my story, then I'm just going to share a couple of minutes on telling you a bit about my background. For those of you that have heard it before, just stick with me for a moment, okay? My background prior to forever was farming, sheep and horses, large farm estate management. And I had a great way of life. Spent most of it on the back of a horse or outside, and I loved it. But I guess like so many people, I was working hard for others and making money for others rather than doing something for myself. And 2 things happened. I reached the crossroads in my life where I knew I had to do something different if I wanted my life to be different. And something which kind of moved that on was the fact that I went through a nasty divorce. My ex-husband got the farm, I got the kids. I got the best deal, I can assure you. I got the very best deal. But I can remember going through that period in my life where I'd lost my lifestyle, I'd lost an income, I lost my confidence. I'd had 10 years in a difficult marriage with a mentally abusive husband. And so my confidence was really, really, really low. And for 18 months when I left the marriage and moved back to Buckinghamshire, I got various jobs with animals and looking after horses and lambing at 4 o'clock in the morning. But really life was tough. I was living in a little house, wasn't great, didn't have any money in the bank. And I was literally working day to day to put food on the table for the kids. Now, this is not a sob story, but this is an explanation of the fact that very often in our lives we hit what is for us rock bottom. And we have a choice that we can either stay in that position where life is tough and a struggle, or we can do something about it. But so often we're in such a downward spiral that we don't know how to get out of that downward spiral. And it was a wet, miserable morning, and I'd been lambing all night. So I had no sleep. I'd come back from lambing. I'd had literally a shower, got the kids up, got them dressed, got them off to school. I came back from getting them off to school. I was sitting having a cup of coffee before I was due to go and do the horses, and I was tired. You know when you're so tired you can't focus? And the postman came, and he dropped 4 letters on the mat. And I went and picked them up, and the first letter was an electricity bill for £100 odd. And I put it on the table, and I thought, I haven't got £100. And the second one was a tax demand on the car. Now I looked outside at the car and I thought, it's not even worth the tax disc. Why am I even bothering taxing it? It's probably highly illegal anyway. I used to go to school round the back lane so no one would see me. The third one was one that made me angry. It was off my landlord saying that he wanted to put the rent up on the house I was living in at the time. And I looked at the little cottage I was living in, and I thought, my God, it's not even worth £600 a month, and you want to put it up to £800 a month. I don't have the money. But it was the fourth one that made me have that paradigm shift. You know when you go boom, when you stop feeling sorry for yourself and you think, I have to do something different. And we have those paradigm shifts in our lives at times, things that make us change our thinking. And the paradigm shift was quite simple. It was a letter from the school saying, there's a school trip coming up, and the boys are invited to participate to France, and it's £120 per child. And that was the one that tipped me over the edge. That was the paradigm shift. There was no way I could afford to send the kids on the trip. I didn't care about the electricity bill, cut me off. I didn't care about the car, the house, nothing. But to deprive the kids of something, that gave me my paradigm shift. And it was at that moment I made a decision that something had to change. And if something was going to change, I was the only one that could instigate that change. And the only way I could do that was by changing my thinking. You see, for 10 years to that point, I kind of been told pretty regularly on an almost daily, weekly basis that you'll never amount to much. You know, I'm not going to go into it, it gets me quite emotional, but it's not nice when someone tells you all the time that you're not worthy, you're not going to amount to much. People will never listen to you. Who are you? Who do you think you are? That kind of hurts after a while. But on that day, when I couldn't give my kids what I wanted to give them, I made a decision that it was not about what somebody else thought of me, it's about what I was prepared to do and embrace. And isn't it interesting when we change our mindset, how the universe kind of readjusts itself to bring people and opportunity in our lives that make a difference? They may have been there all the time, but because of the way we felt about ourselves, we didn't see them. Can you relate to that? Two things happened over the next 3 or 4 months. The first one, I met John, lucky chap. And the second one was we came across Forever through a friend who thought enough of us to give us a phone call to say, come and have a look at Forever. Now, the first phone call we had from him, we said no. And the reason being is the timing wasn't right. We were just about to move to a new home together, and we just didn't have the time to go and look at a business. But he kept our number, he rang us again, and at that time it was right. So we went to have a look. And I have to tell you, I didn't truly understand what he was saying to me, but it felt right. And when something feels right to me, I always go with my gut intuition. I follow my instinct. It's never let me down. So we joined Forever on the 13th of August, 1993. Now, let me tell you something. If anyone ever says to you, you can't recruit in August, I would say, rubbish, because we joined in August. We joined on the 13th of August, which meant that we had 2 weeks of the month left to begin our Forever journey. Now, I want to just maybe paint a bit of a picture, and that is when we joined, there were no meetings, there were no trainings, there were no success days, there were no brochures, there was no mobile phones. I'm really very young. I joined when I was 12, okay? I'm really very young, really. But I'm sounding like a dinosaur. But the reality is technology has moved so quickly over the last few years. We didn't have success days, we had nothing. Even the product was all in the same packaging. You know that lovely yellow aloe bottle? Well, the heat lotion, the propolis cream, the moisturizing, the jelly, the lotion, everything was in those yellow containers, hard plastic. All I'll say is we had to be very careful that we picked up the right tube and didn't put heat lotion where you shouldn't put it. But we had nothing other than our dreams, our hopes, our ambitions for what this opportunity could give us. During that first 2 weeks of our journey, I took my box everywhere with me. We'd had some good results as a family with the product, and I took my box everywhere. And everywhere I went, I would put my box on their kitchen table, on their coffee table, on the floor, wherever, and I would say, nothing. Not a thing. I wouldn't even look at it. No eye contact with the box. Nothing. It's not there. You know with kids, if you make eye contact, they win. No eye contact with the box. Nothing. And then they would eventually say, Jayne, what's in the box? And that was like my moment. And I would get the box out, get all the products out, talk of the passion, enthusiasm, and belief. They would buy some, and some would go back in the box. And off I go to the next person. And during that first 2 weeks in the business, I retailed over £800 worth of products, did 8 case credits, and thought this is absolutely fantastic. Now, I was busy in my job, but I found time to do Forever in the nooks and crannies. I realized that retailing is massively important, but if you want to build a business, you have to marry the recruiting, the sponsoring with the retail. And it was during the next few months that I mastered the art of talking to people and showing the opportunity, and within 14 weeks we'd achieved the manager position with nothing. All we had was a flip chart, and we'd written out a business presentation by hand, and every Wednesday night we would invite people to our home and we would present the business. And most of our team, seriously, that's how it was. And I remember we lived in a little tiny house with 4 kids, we had 2 each, and it was quite noisy with 4 kids at home, so we used to have to threaten the kids for silence for 1 hour. And they could only have pocket money if they were quiet for 1 hour. Marcus remembers it well. But anyway, I remember one night, 3 guests turned up, and every one of them said no. I remember the next week, a couple of guests turned up, and I remember a guy called Paul, an ambulance driver, saying, "Guys, I've no idea what you're talking about, but it sounds like a lot of fun, I'm in." And really, the reality is, in the early days, we didn't know much, but we had a vision based on Rex Morn's vision. And we thought, if he can do it around the world, I know it's just here in the UK, but we can do it as well. What was really interesting is, by developing some core skills, by focusing on 3 key areas, which I'm going to share with you now, within 7 years, we'd become diamond managers. We were completely financially free, debt-free. But more importantly, we had made a difference in the lives of so many other people. And I can see 1 or 2 of the people that were with us way back on that journey. Jan Whittaker and I used to go off together, doing one-to-ones together. And what was really fascinating, and you'll vouch for this, I was rubbish at the numbers. I still am. So was Jan. I used to have to memorize them parrot fashion. I used to have to memorize all the percentages on the marketing plan. And if Jan ever spoke to me before I did a one-to-one, I would lose everything. And I remember going to see a headmaster with her once, and he was like some maths geeky headmaster. And I walked in, I was going, okay, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, and altogether you've got 32, 32 in a minute, you're a manager, is that there? And I literally didn't even bother with the first bit. I went straight into the money because I thought if I could get it out quickly, I can breathe, and then it's okay, then I can tell him everything else. But it was a bit like that. We were learning as we were developing ourselves. But I want to share with you how 22 years later, our business is still growing, still strong, in over 50 countries around the world, 7-figure income earners, but more importantly, some of the most incredible leaders, I believe, we have the privilege of working with in Forever globally. So how have we taken ourselves from our first check of £37 to a 7-figure income? And I think for a lot of people, they think there's some, degree course that's gone on here. They think it's something very difficult. I'm going to simplify the whole process for you and suggest to you that if you follow these guidelines, you can do what we've done in half the time because of what's available to you now by way of a support system. So I'm going to talk about 3 things. I'm going to talk about the system, the plan, and your mindset. All of these things work together, not in isolation. The one thing that we had to develop in the early days was a system. The one thing that we began to see very early on as we were working with our new team members was that we were all excited, we were all motivated, but none of us really knew how to put the jigsaw puzzle together. Let me explain what I mean. We can all see the picture of Forever, can't we? We can all clearly see what it can offer us. And then when you register on that form and you get your box, it's as if someone's taken this picture of Forever, thrown it on the floor, and it's shattered into 1,000 pieces. And you've got to put it back together and make sense of it all. Because sometimes it can be a bit overwhelming with just how much there is on offer. Well, what I want to say to you is that the system and the simplicity of the system and you learning the skill sets associated with the system is what is going to give you your dreams, your financial security, and also develop you as a person, as a coach, to begin to create, develop other people. So our system and our core system is really, really simple. You know, we work on our who do you know list. And that was interesting in the early days. In the early days, my who do you know list was quite simply all of my friends who were broke, never achieved anything in their lives, whinging, moaning, complaining people. That's probably the reason they were in the position they were in. But I felt comfortable talking to those people because I felt, even though I wasn't much myself, at least I was a little bit better than they were. Can anybody relate to that? And I had 28 names on my list, and I was convinced I was going to become a millionaire with those 28 names. Reality kicked in very quickly. So a skill set is learning how to develop your list. And I would go as far as to say it's one of the most important parts of the process that you will do and teach. We need to learn how to make contact with people. And boy, has that changed. In the early days, it was as simple as a phone call. Nothing more. That's all we had. I remember in the early days, my phone calls taking an hour and a half. And I thought I was so cool. And then I wondered why no one was joining me. And that's because I bored them to death. I told them everything. I told them all about the aloe, the polysaccharides, the long-chain sugars. I told them about every product, every ingredient. I told them all about Rex, his weight, his inside leg measurement, the kind of clothes he wore. I talked about his kids. I talked about the plantations. And I didn't stop. I was that quick the whole time. I didn't even pause for breath. No wonder no one joined me. They thought I would not have joined me. So I learned the art of being more interested in other people and them and their wants and needs and desires than I was to be in myself and what I had to offer. The process now, obviously, to reach out to people is simple. Quick video, a website, a one-on-one. As a result of that, you invite them to a BP, and as a result of that, we plan to manager. And we layer that system with the personal development that we need to allow us to become the kind of leaders that can build these giant global businesses. Now, the system is vital because without the system, you can't feed the process. And it's the process that is going to help you build a big business. And I look at it a bit like a giant funnel. We've got to feed the funnel at the top end to get the good stuff out at the bottom end. And in feeding the funnel, we have to be aware that we will speak to people for whom forever is not for them. And that's okay. And we need to be gracious in allowing people to say it's not for them. But we do need to learn how to ask for a referral, how to keep in touch, how to build relationships for those that may say not today, not right now, or not ever. But that process will lead you to you developing your customers, on to you developing your distributors, right the way through to your diamond managers. I'm very proud to say that today, 22 years on, we've still got customers that were buying from us 15, 20 years ago. That relationship is way beyond just the wholesale retail action of selling a product. I've got customers that have led me on to thousands of pounds worth of other business because I cared for them. Never underestimate the power of a happy customer. So the process is fed by the system. And without the system, you don't have the process. And if you haven't got the process, you don't get the results. So let's have a look at how we feed the process. How do we get to put people into the funnel in the first place so we're getting the results out at the bottom end? And the first thing that I learned many, many, many years ago is that this is not a mud against the wall business. This is not about just having the same message to every person, blitz everybody and hope some of it lands on fertile minds. This is about understanding that everybody's different in the way they will interact with you, communicate with you, respond to you, receive information, and potentially get happily involved. And I realized very quickly in the early days that you have to have a marketing strategy that allows you to access at least 3 methods of marketing at any one time. This is not all about Facebook. This is not all about Instagram. This is not all about just your who do you know list, because that will, if you don't feed it every day, run dry. This is about developing your skill sets to begin to focus on and become professional in at least 3 areas of prospecting. And I'll tell you right now that I am completely comfortable in all of these areas of prospecting, in every single one. Nothing phases me, but it wasn't like that in the early days. Let's look at contact marketing. Contact marketing, talking to people that you don't know. Oh my goodness. How many of you right now, when I say that to you, just the very thought of it makes your heart race, your pulse race, clammy hands, and think immediately, oh my goodness, I can't do this business. How many of you think like that? Me too. We're more alike than different. I was exactly the same. But ladies and gentlemen, there are people around us all day, every day, that are living lives of quiet desperation behind closed doors that would be grateful to hear from you. And if you integrate with them correctly, they will say one of 2 things. Yes, I'm keen to find out more, or no, it's not for me. And either way is fine. I want to share a little story with you about contact marketing and the power of learning to talk to people, chit-chat, have a conversation, say hi, smile. I want to share 2 quick stories. You need to be able to talk to people to add them to your list. Because if you don't, your who do you know list, the people you know right now, the people that are in your head, it will dry up quite quickly. It will, because if you put 200, 300 people down who you know, and you speak to your 5 a day, within a matter of weeks or months, it's going to be dried up and you've got no one else to talk to. So you've got to be able to develop people and add people every single day. And they need to come from when you're out and about in your daily activities. I want to share a little story with you about the first time I went contact marketing. Contact marketing is something John and I developed many, many, many years ago. Many years ago. Because we couldn't afford to do any marketing that cost money. We didn't have any money. So therefore we had to be creative. And that's how contact marketing was born. And I remember going out contact marketing, always put your smart clothes on, get your head right, off you go people shopping, and I'd go into town. It was in Milton Keynes in those days. And I'd go, okay, you can do it. I'd psych myself up. You can do it. And there was someone who I thought looked good. They looked smart. They represented to me someone who just looked good. I'd walk up to them, and as I walked up to them, I'd just go, hang. I'm sure nobody else has done that. So I psych myself up again, and I do it again. I go, okay, go on, Jayne, do it. You can do it. And I walk up, I go, hey. And I do this days on end. I'd do it. It cost me a fortune. I'd end up shopping or buying coffee at least. It cost me a fortune with no results. And then one day, get this, something so bizarre happened. John and I were in John Lewis, and I said, right, we've got to talk to someone. I said, okay, I'll go first. I said, okay, I'll do it. I promise, I'll do it. I sat there, and I look around John Lewis coffee shop, and I go, yeah, he looks a smart guy. That's a smart couple. I'm going to do it. So I remember going, okay, go do it now. And I went up to him. I said, hi, I'm Jayne Leach, and I want to talk to you about something. And they kind of looked at me like this. I went, it's this mad woman on the loose. And I went, I work at this amazing company. It's all about aloe vera, and I want to talk to you about it because I think it'd be absolutely amazing for you. And he went, whoa. I went, okay. He said, what was your name? I said, Jayne Leach. He said, Jayne, you've already spoken to me on the phone. I'm meeting you in 2 days' time. okay. I was hysterical. Anyway, so then I said to John, right, your turn. I've had a win. Mine was cool. He's in. He's in. It's easy. Anybody can do this. So I said, go on, your turn. So he looks around. There's a table of 4 or 5 professional-looking guys and girls that are obviously having a bit of a business lunch. I said, come on, off you go, John. So John goes up and talks to these people, and they look at him, and they just literally, you know how they look down their nose at you as if you're a little bit dirt on the floor? And he just gave them his business card and came back, and he said, well, that sucks. I'm out of here. And then, of course, with practice, it gets better and easier and better and better and better, until it becomes such second nature that it doesn't matter where you are, whom you're talking to, whatever situation you're in, you can do it with your eyes closed. And let me give you an example of how easy it is now, because I'll talk to anybody. I was in Johannesburg, as you are. I was at the airport about to fly to Zimbabwe to do a training with a big team I've got over there. And we're on the little shuttle bus that takes you from the main airport to the little biplane that literally is like a little cigar tube. You strap in and off you go to Zim. It's a 50-minute flight. We're on the little bus that takes us to our plane, and suddenly there's a problem and the bus stops still. And there we are on a bus with about 40 people, and we're told it's going to be a 20-minute wait. Now, what does the average person do? They just all look in the air. They don't make eye contact with anybody. They all look down, or they get their book out and they read, but they don't want to interact. And I didn't. I looked around and I thought, right, I've got about 20 minutes here. Who's first? The first lady was there with a beautiful baby on her arm, and I said, what a beautiful baby. Nothing about me, all about her. And we got chatting, and I said, you going to Zim? Where are you going? She said, Bulawayo. I said, that's where I'm going. I said, what brings you to Bulawayo? She said, because I've got a new baby, and my mother-in-law has not seen her grandchild yet. And I went, no, why? Well, I live in Canada. We haven't got enough money to come. This will be one trip. I don't know when we're going to come back again. And I said, well, funny you should say that, but I think I've got a way that I can help you have more than one trip every 2 years to come and see your grandchild. Would you be open to finding out more? And she said, of course I would. I went, great, give me a number. Take my number. This is who I am. I'm Jayne Leach. Don't forget that name. And we'll talk. Job done. She was so happy. So I stood there, looked around. Hold on, gets better. So I stood there, looked around, and I thought, right, who's next? And by this time, 1 or 2 people are looking at me, thinking, who is this woman? It's getting hot as well, I have to tell you. It's hot on the runway. So I sort of shuffled through, and I spoke to the next guy. He had a chat, and I said, what are you doing over here? And he said, I live in Reading. He said, and I work for the university. I'm coming to Harare, to Bulawayo, to look at exchange options for students. I went, oh, brilliant. And I told him a bit about what we're doing. And I said, and your wife, does she work? No, she doesn't. She's at home with 2 kids. I said, I need to speak to your wife. She sounds like an amazing woman. So we swapped details. Long and the short of it is I did speak to his wife. She joined and went supervisor, and is quite happy as a supervisor to this day. Just as I was about to look and see who else I was going to talk to, this guy put his hand up and he went, all right, I'm next. Oh no, it gets better. Gets better. I go and do my training in Bulawayo, amazing group of people, and what I was doing at that event was teaching about 100 of them how to develop a marketing strategy, how to communicate with people. The whole day was communication, what to say, how to say it. And at the end of it, I took about 4 or 5 of my leaders out for supper to a sushi bar in Bulawayo. I mean, if anybody's ever been to Bulawayo, you'd know that it's a bit suspect, really. But it was a nice little sushi bar, and the girls were all going, Jayne, you make it sound so easy. I said, well, it is. But I've been practicing a lot more than you. And they're all going, we couldn't do what you do. I went, ladies, watch and learn. So I looked around the restaurant, and there in the corner was a table with 3 beautiful women on it. So I thought, right, I'm off. So I went up to the table. I said, ladies, my name's Jayne Leach. Don't forget that name. And I'm in Zimbabwe raising the profile of our company right now, and we're looking for a few good quality people that might be open-minded enough to take a look at what we do. Now, I've just given you some really killer words there. Hope you wrote them down. So I interacted with all three of them very quickly. Long and the short of it is, one of them went on to be a customer, gave to one of the women there. One of them said no, and one of them I followed up for a long time, over a year. Followed up, nothing, never answered the phone, nothing. And then recently, I phoned and got through. And I said, do you remember me? It's Jayne Leach. She said, I do. I wasn't even in the UK, and I still followed up my prospects while I'm traveling. She went to the meeting. Philo looked after her in Stratford, registered, and is happily building her business. I was in Gothenburg 2 weeks ago. A lady came to help us with our luggage, prospected her, and just Friday night, Jeanette Magnuson sent some information to her, and she's joining the business this week. I'm seeing a guy next week in London who I prospected in the airport lounge last week I was in Lagos. I've been in Lagos, Singapore, Gothenburg. It's only second, third week in Feb, but I'm a bit I don't even know, am I in the UK right now? Yeah, I am. And this guy came up to me on the way back from Lagos last week. He said to me, I saw you on the plane going out. I said, you did? He said, you're the only person that smiled at me. I said, I am. I said, because I'm an amazing person. This day's your lucky day because you're talking to me. Anthony and I have now made contact, and he's coming to look at the business next week. The point I'm making is, wherever you are, you can talk to people. Yes, we use social media. Yes, we use all other methods. But your strongest, most valuable asset is your ability to talk to people. Because I build a global business, and if I can't talk to people globally, where sometimes they don't have Facebook, they don't have social media, then I limit myself to just one area. So be mindful of that. Now, a marketing strategy fits in with the 7-day plan, and you heard Diana talk beautifully about the 7-day plan. The 7-day plan needs to be fed. It needs to be fed with activity. And your activity could be, I'm going to speak to 5 people a day off my list. I'm going to get 10 numbers a week from contact marketing. I'm going to do 250 cards and flyers into the hands of people a week, and I'm going to maybe do 30 messages to people I know on social media. That's a good marketing strategy. That would stand you in good stead for being very proactive in your business. You see, you have to be proactive, not reactive. People are not going to come, run to your front door and say, hey, I've heard you've joined the aloe vera company. I want to be part of your business. I'm going to be a diamond. It doesn't work like that. You've got to be proactive. And if you're not building your pipeline and having it full of at least 30 people at any one time, you don't give yourself a chance to build that big non-manager business and find the people that are going to help you achieve the gem positions. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the system, and Facebook has become an integral part of the system, but I want to say that you need to use it properly. I'm horrified by what I see FBOs post on Facebook. Buy my product, buy my gel, buy my Clean Nines. It's so distasteful. Join my business, make £1,000 a month, have a new card. That's not how we use Facebook. Facebook is about creating a curiosity where people come to you to say, what are you doing? So be mindful of how you use Facebook, and there's a lot of Facebook experts in this room today, far better than I am. But I will tell you right now, I have learnt the way to use Facebook where it attracts people to me because of what I'm doing and my lifestyle, rather than saying, buy my product, buy my product, buy my product. Because none of us like being sold to. And if you're aggressively marketing on Facebook, you will put people off. But the most important thing I want to say about Facebook is protect the brand. If you want to be in this business in 20 years' time, living the kind of life that we live, with a legacy that's unbelievable, you've got to protect the brand. And you'll only do that by doing the right things. And remember that you represent Rex Morn, his vision, his values, and his integrity. So do it right when you're using social media. Part of the system is you learning how to do a killer one-to-one. And a killer one-to-one is about learning how to ask the right questions, how to find out what people want, how to link their wants and needs with our marketing model. It's about being more interested in your prospect than you are in yourself. And it takes time to learn how to do a one-to-one, but you need to practice. I used to pay the children to sit in front of me and listen. And I would do the one-to-one with them, and they could have extra pocket money if I could practice on them more and more and more. And I became better and better and better at doing a really good one-to-one. I've learned over the last couple of years to have a good video that represents you and your team. And what I have learned, and I've learned this by talking to a lot of other seven-figure income earners in our industry, that the top leaders within each group need to do a generic voice piece video that is compliant and that the team can use with confidence. Because I have to tell you, some of the non-compliant videos I see done by inexperienced FBOs are problematic. You need to develop a little video that tells your story when you're brand new. That's so powerful. And the whole essence of that is to feed the process by making contacts, getting information in front of somebody, and then getting them along to a business presentation. And it's a wide variety of ways you can do that. At a hotel, in the home, online. We have business presentations going on in our team every single day, morning, afternoon, evening of the week globally. And we're all doing the same thing, which means that we've got complete continuity in the message. And then when you have taken a prospect through the process to a BP, at the end of a BP, it's quite simply asking the right questions. What did you like best? Can you now see, by working with me under the umbrella of Forever, how you can achieve? And when they say yes, you recruit them, you get the paperwork done, and then you use the first steps to manager to plan their business. And we are planning a manager business, but I want to say to you again, there is no perfect manager plan. And if I can, very quickly, I want to just ask a quick question. How many people in this room achieved manager in less than 5 months? Put your hands up if you did. Can I have the house lights up a bit, please? How many of you achieved manager in 6 months? Excellent. How many of you achieved manager in 7 months? In 8 months? And that is my case. Maybe 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 months. There is no perfect stereotypical plan, but there needs to be a plan. Because as long as you've got something in place, you can work to that plan and adjust accordingly. So it could be you want a 5-month plan to manager, it could be you want a 6-month plan to manager, or it could be you want a 7-month plan to manager. Depending on people's time commitments, their family commitments, their hunger, their passion, their desire to achieve their goals, their willingness to sacrifice, you need to make sure that you are mindful of a plan that suits their needs. And then you need to understand structure. This is so important. You need to be 5 wide and 3 deep as quickly as possible with every single person that you're working with. Your responsibility to do that. Your responsibility to help your new FBO go 5 wide and 3 deep, creating a sound structure. And I normally do a good example of this with a chair. A 1-legged chair falls over. A 2-legged chair is balanced if you're balancing it. A 3-legged chair is okay, but if one leg breaks, you're still back to shaky. But a 4-legged chair, rock solid. Add another leg to it, you're never going to fall over. But you can only build this kind of structure with people that want to work. So you work with people that are committed to developing a business quickly with the right structure. Because if you go 5 wide and 3 deep, it will unlock the non-manager business that you hear people talking about. It'll unlock the potential of all of the incentives. But more importantly, It will give people the confidence to build managers and develop managers. So our business is about becoming a manager and developing a manager. And one of our key positions on the plan is manager, sapphire, diamond, sapphire, and diamond. And the reason being that sapphire is so important is because it gives you a 1% pay rise overnight. And just to maybe quantify that, if I may, that can be anywhere from 13 to 50,000 a year extra on your income overnight. Now, I'm chatting to one or two sapphires in my business from last year, and some of them were saying it's given them an extra, literally 4,000 or 5,000 a month, 1,000 a month, right the way up to 10,000 a month extra. And this is why the width and the depth is important, and the marketing strategy is invaluable. So I want to very quickly just show you a really good example of, if you like, a timeline for everybody in the room that is ambitious to achieve chairman's bonus this year, if you are focused enough on becoming a manager quickly, doing the right things, building the right structure, using the right strategies, making the sacrifice, and if you've got someone coming up behind you. Now, I haven't got time to go through this in great detail, but I will say, you've got your phones, take a picture. Here's a perfect timeline for you to achieve chairman's bonus, or at least be structured for it by the end of this year. Senior manager on the car plan, and also Eagle qualified. So, we talked a little bit about the system, we talked a bit about the plan, and I need you to focus on your daily activity now. Forever Living pay us in 3 key areas. They pay us for retailing product, and I hope what you hear me say there, retailing product. Do not undervalue, do not disempower the product by selling it cheap, undercutting other FBOs, trying to get customers because you can do a better deal than somebody else can do for a potential customer. Be proud of the product you work with. Do not devalue it. Share it with a passion with people. We need to share the opportunity because we get paid handsomely for building a team, and we get paid handsomely for coaching. But now I want to talk very quickly about the mindset. You need to have a vision of 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years of hard work, of sacrifice, to give yourself the lifestyle and the freedom that most other people will only ever talk about or dream of. You need to waterproof yourself from the negatives, because maybe you don't get them, but even now, I get negativity. Can you believe, thank you, Maddie, that on Thursday of last week, 6 people said no to me? Do they know who they're saying no to? And they all had really good excuses, much like the other 6 people and much like the ones to come next week. You can make excuses or you can make money, but you sure as heck can't make both. And there will be people that will try to steal your dream, try and tell you you're mad, you're crazy, it will never work. Ladies and gentlemen, our industry is not perfect. But I tell you something, it's a damn sight better than a lot of stuff going out there right now. I'll tell you that right now. So stay away from the negative people. And sometimes that means friends. And sometimes that means family. My brother still thinks it's a load of rubbish. Doesn't mean I don't love him any less. It's just not for him. We don't discuss it. But you've made a decision, and be proud of that decision. Do not let anybody tell you you cannot achieve your goals and dreams. Every one of you is unique and has it within you to achieve excellence at all times. Waterproof yourself against the people that don't think like you. And develop yourself as much as possible. You know, we hear a lot about consistency and persistency and habits and all the things that you hear on a daily basis, but I want to talk to you about mindset just for a moment, something that I think is really important. And that's about where we've come from. And every one of us has got baggage. All of us. I've just told you a bit about mine. Now, we have to deal with baggage, whatever it may be, that might be holding us back. And we need to let go of it. We need to deal with it, sort it, park it, and move on. We cannot change the past, but we sure as hell can influence the future. So whatever challenges you've had relating to the past, become stronger as a result of them. Use them as your part of your experience to help others overcome the challenges they're going to have. But don't allow your past to be the excuse for not achieving your goals in the future. The past is done. It's history. It's tomorrow and the future that we're looking towards. Be proud of your decision to become a professional networker. When people ask me what I do, I look them right in the eye and say, I have the privilege of being able to tell you that I am a professional network marketer. And I look them right in the eye. On my passport it says, professional network marketer. That's what I am, and I am proud of it. And I'm giving all of you permission to be proud of it too. Even if you're just starting out on your journey when you're a bit shaky, you don't truly understand it all, I want to tell you right now, internalize that. I am a professional network marketer. What you internalize will become your reality. And if you internalize all the thoughts and opinions and criticisms of all the small thinkers, the people that have jealousies, the people that will never amount to much because they're not brave enough to step outside the comfort zone, then that's sad. And I commend all of you for making the decision to start your forever journey, every single one of you, because your decision to become a professional network marketer is not just going to change your life, but it's just going to change the life of literally thousands of people around the world, most of them you will never, ever meet. That's what you have the power to do. I was in Malawi last year, and we have a small business in Malawi, but mainly our focus is our charity there. And I was sitting in the village, and a guy called Peter came up to me, and he said, Madam Jayne, thank you so much. I said, why, Peter? He said, because I have been retailing the aloe, he said, I have a fridge. I said, you know what, Peter, I am so pleased for you, my friend. I have no electricity, but I have a fridge. And then I have another mum come up to me and say, Jayne, thank you so much. Because through your coachings and teaching and your belief in me, I've got my kids into private school. You just go, you're welcome. You don't even know it yet, but the ripple effect that is generated as a result of your decisions will touch the lives of people in far-off countries you'll never get to meet. So be proud of being a professional networker. Dream big. Dream big. Most of our mindsets are conditioned to think small. We get a job and somebody else pays us what they think we're worth. We're conditioned. And because of the way that other people view us and pay us what they think we're worth, we then live our lifestyle based on what somebody else thinks we're worth. Now, I have nothing against a job. We all need them, but not forever. I had a job for 18 years, worked my heart and soul to death, gave the best I could be, because I was a farmer, but I was not any old farmer. I was a damn good farmer. But I was broke. So I decided to do something different. I'm not saying the job was bad. I just needed to do something different. And it wasn't until I joined this industry that I realized if I could dream it and I was prepared to work for it, maybe make a few sacrifices up front for it, that I could have it, but only by helping other people. And finally, never underestimate the power of your own personal journey to inspire others. Your stories, your experiences, your empathy, your love, and your compassion will inspire other people. Remember to always lead by example. Wherever you are, at meetings, at trainings, at events, people are watching you. So be the example that you want others to follow. You have chosen to be part of the best company, I believe, this world has ever seen in the industry of network marketing. A company that genuinely cares about people more than their bottom line. And I want to thank each and every one of you for spending the last 45 minutes with me, and I hope in some small way what I've said has made a difference in your journey today. Thank you very much.